Today we're diving into a pretty provocative idea. What if the quiet, everyday act of creating wealth is actually more morally significant than the big, celebrated act of giving it away? So, what do you think? Which one's more moral? Creating value day in, day out, or making that grand gesture of giving it away? Well, the answer, according to the source for this explainer, it might not be what you expect. And to really get to the bottom of this, we're not starting in some stuffy boardroom or a university lecture hall. Nope, we're going to start somewhere much simpler, a playground. Believe it or not, a simple interaction there reveals a deep, powerful truth about how we as humans actually work together. Okay, so picture this scene. You're at a playground. A 4-year-old kid sees another kid just totally cut in line for the slide. And what does she do? She steps right in and says, "Hey, it's not your turn." Now think about that. Nobody told her to do it. She doesn't get a better spot in line for her trouble. In fact, she might even start a little squabble. So why? What's going on in her head? Well, she's acting on this incredibly powerful and really uniquely human instinct called shared intentionality. It's this built-in ability we have to understand and enforce shared rules, not for our own personal gain, but because we just know the rules are important for everyone. This right here, this is the tiny seed that grows into all large-scale cooperation. I'm talking language, laws, markets, the whole shebang. It's something we do so naturally, we barely even notice it. And that instinct for shared rules, that's the foundation for what this analysis calls a quiet moral miracle. And that miracle is voluntary exchange. I mean, think about it. It happens billions of times every single day. It's so common, we just completely forget how amazing it really is. So let's break it down with a super simple story. Let's talk about 2 farmers. Okay, you've got Farmer A, who's got way too many apples. And you've got Farmer B, who's drowning in oranges. They meet up and they just trade. Now stop and think about what just happened. No new seeds were planted, no extra work was done, but magically, both of them are now better off. Value was literally created out of thin air, not from production, but from simple, peaceful cooperation. They're both richer, just because they saw what the other person needed and decided to work together. And this quote from the economist Frederick Bastiat just nails it. He said, "Trade is mutual service for mutual service. When it is voluntary, it is not exploitation. It is coordination." See, this isn't just a boring transaction. According to this view, it's a profound moral achievement. It's a system that lets total strangers help each other out for their own benefit on a mind-boggling scale. Okay, so if voluntary exchange is this amazing moral miracle, why do we so often kind of look down on it? And why do we put philanthropy up on a pedestal as the, nobler path? Well, this gets us right to the core of this whole discussion, the powerful allure of giving. It really comes down to 2 totally different logics of cooperation. Think of exchange as this quiet engine. It just hums along in the background, serving people you'll never meet. And it's disciplined by ruthless, constant feedback. If you don't provide something people actually want, you're out of business. Simple. But philanthropy, that's different. It tells a powerful, visible story. It's a one-way transfer, not a two-way street. It serves a noble cause. And here's the kicker. It's judged by your intentions, not always by the actual results. And that difference in feedback, it's absolutely crucial. So let's really dig into that idea of feedback, because it explains why just having good intentions might not be enough. In fact, this is where we start to see the hidden dangers of giving when there's no real accountability. The economist Ludwig von Mises had this absolutely brilliant insight. He argued that prices aren't just decorative numbers on a shelf. They're a massive, decentralized information system. Think of it like that. Prices are constantly telling us what's scarce, what people actually want, and what we're giving up to get something else. They force our grand plans to smack right into reality. And this table really lays it all out, right? In markets, your key signal is the price. Your discipline is profit and loss. It's direct, it's measurable. You know if you're on the right track. But in philanthropy, what's the signal? It's a moral narrative, a story. The discipline, it's your good intentions, your reputation. And those things are way, way harder to measure. This is what makes it socially insulated from that hard, cold feedback that keeps markets honest. So what happens? What's the consequence of all this? Well, when you lose that direct feedback loop, something has to take its place. And what rushes in to fill that vacuum is moral authority. Suddenly, the story you tell, the purity of your intention, the reputation of the person giving the money,
all of that can become way more important than whether the project is actually helping anyone.
Okay, so what's the answer here? Does this mean we should just stop giving to charity? No, not at all. The argument here is that we need to recalibrate our moral compass. We need to see the relationship between creating wealth and giving it away much more clearly. The point is not to ditch philanthropy, it's to finally recognize that the very prosperity that makes our generosity possible is a direct result of that quiet engine of voluntary exchange. You can think of it like this. Exchange is the foundation, and philanthropy is the beautiful house you build on top of it. You can't have one with the other.
So what does healthy philanthropy look like then? Well, it complements exchange, it doesn't try to override it, it actually works to strengthen the conditions for more voluntary cooperation, it filters its ambitions through a respect for mutual benefit, and crucially, it avoids the trap of moral theater, where the performance of caring becomes more important than actually doing good.
And if you want to see this playing out in the real world, just look at how many big corporations and foundations are desperately searching for a moral purpose these days. When that core foundational value of creating wealth through mutual service is forgotten or devalued, a kind of moral vacuum appears, and institutions will scramble to find other ways to define their mission and justify their existence.
And this really brings us to the most crucial point of this whole analysis. Forgetting that voluntary exchange is, at its heart, a moral achievement, well, that has very real consequences. The argument is that we need to appreciate this principle, we need to teach it, and we need to protect it, because it's the invisible foundation of the peaceful, cooperative, and prosperous civilization that, let's be honest, most of us take for granted every day.
So, I'll leave you with a final question to chew on. Is our generosity, or our good intentions, actually strengthening the foundations of cooperation, or could they, just maybe, be unintentionally replacing them?